Hey y'all, I'm sitting here waiting and I'm greasy. I don't know if that's because I'm eating popcorn or what. I don't know what I did. But I'm sitting here in my hotel room in Chicago and not comfortable at all because, when you're not home, nothing's right. The pillows ain't right. The bed ain't right. This ain't right. And then my computer is acting a plumb fool. And I am working on a presentation for my job tomorrow, and I've learned the hard way that I'm going to have to simplify things due to some issues I'm having from and I didn't want to say pimp, because what I've come to talk to you guys tonight is a conversation that I've had with two people, one of them being my spiritual mother, and the other being a very respected spiritualist, popcorn, that I know. I had to tell a friend of mine who was seeking a reading that the recent loss she had in the family was as a result of malpractice. And that just came to me when this person asked me and told me this situation. I think that a lot of times, I'm waiting for some software to install, so I figured I'd come and talk to you guys. I figured I wanted to talk to you guys because I've had this conversation twice tonight, and it was something that's really kind of heavy on my heart. Now, it's funny because over the years, as being a spiritualist, as being a voodoo sant, as being a magical practitioner, I've had to, and my glasses are so dirty, y'all. So we're just going to take them off. And now you can fully see my makeup in the bags underneath my eyes. But them glasses was working my nerves in this picture. And I ain't that blind. I've had this conversation twice today. We get messages as psychics. I remember one time my daughters and I were watching a movie. And I don't know if it's just common sense, old age, but I kept predicting hello, Osha Drummings. I wanted to, hi, Anne-Marie. There's my New York City people. There's a female spirit next to me in a blue dress. Well, I'm home. I'm in Chicago, where I was born, and it's a heavy place on my heart, okay? And I come here because I come here for work once a year. And that's why I haven't really been available, because I've been in meetings and doing the stuff I do as a course designer. And now I'm working on a presentation that I have to give tomorrow. But, being a spiritualist, I've found that people get a lot of wrong ideas about being magical. And I think this whole black girl magic saying was a blessing and a curse. I think people get the wrong ideas about being a voodoo sant, being a mambo, being a witch, being a psychic. Especially because we've been so, maligned, I don't know, this thing is I don't know what's going on with this. This thing is it's removing the post, which is great, but because I can see my face, but whatever. First of all, when you first come into magic, you're going to have to deal with your family, your friends, even your church, Even though in church, the prophetess will give you a word. There are several churches on the south side right now I could go to, and somebody could put hands on me, and they can tell me my whole damn life. I went to a spiritualist church that was pretty mayonnaised, on the west side, the oldest one in Chicago. And even then, the woman could tell me what kind of drawers I had on. She said, I see a leopard. I had on leopard print underwear and black pants, so she couldn't see it. She talked to me about my book and when was I going to start writing. This is a woman who has never met me before in my life. So imagine what it's like as people who were quote unquote normal and mundane, because I'm going to tell y'all right now, I got people on here that I've known my whole life, people I've known since I was in high school, and sometimes people will, they'll be like, well, we always knew it about you. Some of my friends had that reaction. My family, who is still stuck in Christianity, and it's really sad because I consider a lot of them to be really thinking individuals, including my father. don't want to delve further into their biblical studies. And I asked my father, I said, do you really want to, you've put your faith in this book, but there's parts of this book you ain't read yet. And do you really just want to follow blindly? And see, I gave up following blindly a long time ago, with certain exceptions. And so what I want to talk to you is about people who are new and coming into the spiritual awakening, who see all of the cool stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff. There's crystals, and there's herbs, and there's roots, and there's potions. And usually we are guided by Hollywood and what they've said about magic. Okay, we've seen The Craft, we've seen Practical Magic, and we've seen Serpent and the Rainbow, we've seen Eve's Bayou, we've seen Daughters of the Dust. Some of these portrayals have elements of truth in them, but we get caught by the pretty, kind of like when you go to Target and you buying all kind of shit you ain't got no business buying, because it's pretty. We do that in magic. I like collecting certain magical objects and books and things like that, and I do a lot of the times use them or have every intention of, with time allowing, getting back to using them. But what people don't tell people about when it comes to practicing magic is how difficult some of this really is. I got a message for somebody that I'm going to give a reading to soon when I come off my hiatus. And spirits told me the person was going to die. How do you tell somebody that? And in what ways do you tell them that? Because sometimes spirit is not always clear. Sometimes that means we all gonna die. He could die today, he could die tomorrow. So, sometimes when you get these messages, you get messages on the street about people you don't even know. When you standing next to somebody and you want to turn to them and say, look, don't do this or do that. And I'm telling y'all, there's been lots of times that I've just said, no, I can't do that. I can't do that to them. I can't do that to me, or, and you find yourself sometimes begging spirit, okay, let me find a different way to do this. Because it is so funny, because sometimes in a reading, spirit will tell you, their ancestors will tell you, their guardian angels will tell you, the spirits that walk with them will tell you something. And you will be tempted to dumb it down, or revise it, paraphrase it, and spirit be hitting you in the back of the head. I said what I said. And those are the hardest messages. People don't understand that this is not easy. And I lamented with two of my mentors tonight, two people that I trust very, very much, magically, that I would give anything to be normal. But the funny thing is my mumbo tells me, because, you got to understand this, y'all. I don't get online. And, yeah, she dragged you. She read everything about you, didn't she? And wasn't that just like, in a way, you'd be like, did I ask for this? Who are you? And that's a lot of the reasons, especially in Chicago, while I won't walk up on nobody and be like, look, spirit told me to tell you. No. But this is, and Dee is my best friend, and, and Aziz is on here, and Sabrina's on here. We all went to high school, or we knew each other from a young age. And you have seen the change in me. Yeah, they will, a prophetess will read you. When my sister dreams, I tell her, don't call me. I've just come to the realization that the reason why my mother was an alcoholic and why my grandmother, the original Elizabeth, was an alcoholic was because they couldn't handle the voices, or they couldn't handle dead people in the mirrors, standing next to you at the bed. My 27-year-old cousin was murdered, and the night of his funeral, he's at my bedside on his knees, because I'm short and he was really tall. And I'm trying to beg this boy to go on. And, you know, because that day everybody was calling him, of course, it was his funeral. Everybody was speaking his name. Everybody was remembering him and trying to bring him closer and back to us. That's some really hard shit to deal with, y'all. One of the reasons why I took a sabbatical during the month of October from reading is because you know how they say the freaks come out at night, y'all. The month of October, everybody wants to be spooky, witchy, psychic, whatever, and you get all kind of crackpots in your inbox. Not to mention that, you know, I do have a job, and so this is when we get together for, last year I flew from the Black Witch Convention directly to Chicago. Do not pass go, do not collect $200. Somebody else had to drive my car back to Ohio for me. So, and I've got to be focused on certain things. And a lot of the times the readings that I get are people asking me questions they already know the answer to. It's either that or what I've got to tell them is so incredibly painful that personally, I can't afford to be dragged under. You all have to understand, you all have seen me at least one time, and I don't do this. But one time I got online, I broke down because somebody that I've read for consistently was about to end their life because of a series of unfortunate events, things that they caused, that life caused. And y'all helped that brother. Today, he's doing much better. But y'all don't know because, like I said, I just grew up in a time. And this has a good and it has a very bad, and we're seeing this today. This is a very bad result where we kind of, you know, black folks have this, what goes on in our house stays in our house mentality, right? And so unfortunately, when our little girls and little boys are raped by family members, they don't tell anybody. But at the same time, you know, as a person who's approaching the half-century mark, thank you, gods, goddesses, Loa, guardian angels. Sometimes not telling everybody all your business is a good thing. And so, you know, I had lost a really good colleague. I considered her a friend. We didn't know each other personally outside of our interactions on Facebook, but I respected her tremendously as a witch. And I talked to several crackpots who have messaged me about the reasons why this family died. But tonight was the first time I talked to somebody who knew, and I'm not going to discuss it, and I get it, about why things happened the way they did. But I can't even have a goddamn cold without somebody willing to take the credit for it. You have to understand that we as spiritualists and as workers, we deal with this duality. We know stuff we have no business knowing. And sometimes we are completely in the dark and wondering what the fuck is going on. Not just that. It's, you know, it's that heaviness of having information about people that we shouldn't really be privy to. So I can't even watch the news like an ordinary person anymore. And now, that was another thing. One of the first things that was most prevalent with white spiritualists, when I first, and maybe that was because that was my audience, but I'm starting to look and I'm starting to see this in the black community of workers and believers as well. They are losing their grip on reality and, well, not really reality. They're losing their grip on the matrix, which can be transformative. But at the same time, it can take you under to the point where I don't even have cable. Well, I got like Sling. I watch HGTV. But it can take you under the point where you don't come back. Another thing that happens is, and that's another thing that people need to understand about this. You know, the reason people wonder, why do I get so upset when somebody buys something from me and then they message me and say, I literally got this message this morning, y'all. I am not lying to you when I got this message. I wanted to know if I could use your spiritual subs to take a spiritual bath. I'll wait for it. Somebody actually messaged me and asked me that question. What the fuck is a spiritual soap for if it isn't for a spiritual bath? Not only is it in the name, but there are full instructions on the website. Now, y'all know how I am about reading. Y'all know I was a college professor. And I exercised complete calm. And they could tell that they were stupid by my response. It's like, yes, please read the instructions on the website. Send them a link. But, you know, you guys got to understand this, because my youngest daughter, refuses to practice. Although she's probably got more ability in her pinky than I probably have in my entire body. But she says magic requires a lot of responsibility. And that's because I taught her that. Because I witnessed people out here who don't really have any idea what they're doing when they're calling up spirits. I can't tell you how many white college students I used to meet in the candle store in Chicago who conjured something up using a spirit board that they could not get rid of. And that was terrifying to me, because I did not have the training to go in and help them. And I wouldn't. And that's one of the reasons why I initiated. Only to find out, and this is why it took, people were like, congratulations, Mambo, because I put it on my name. I did not put it on my name, my Facebook name, because I wanted people to know I was a Mambo. I figured y'all knew that. But to keep those babalao from messaging me, I thought that might help. Also, for some people to put some respect on my name, because people act really out of pocket online. But guess what? Guess what I found out? I found out in the Jevo. I found out through the initiation process. Not only is this learning lifelong, you get it in pieces. You know, people think that when they go into the Jevo and they come out of the Jevo, they're going to come out with all of these secrets, and it doesn't work like that. And you do have to earn it. You just can't just pop up and be a high priestess one day, which I am not. I'm just a priestess. Okay? And so, thank you, hon. But what people don't understand is you still have a lot of learning and a lot of training to do. Your entire life here on this earth, whether you believe it or not, every single religion in the world teaches you that there is a life after this. And that the life that you live here right now is a training ground. And how you live this life is going to determine your next life. I don't care if you're Christian, I don't care if you're Buddhist, I don't care if you're voodoo son. Your life and how you live it determines your next life. And I had to stop and think about that, because, you know, there are days where it's like, when I first started practicing root work, because my background is African American literature, particularly 20th century female writers, and that includes the Harlem Renaissance. So we're talking about Zora Neale Hurston and other writers who concentrated on the magic of our people. It was more from an anthropological perspective, of my love of history, my love of our people and our struggle and what we did to survive. And then it became this addiction to learning what every single herb and root could do and how it could be used to bless your life and protect you and curse somebody if you needed to do so, without really knowing the real responsibility of that. And learning that over time. You know, I don't do certain spells for people simply because Spirit tells me not to. You know, different fertility spells, different things that, you know, people want. And I really work with my clients to help them find mundane answers. And then when we've run out of those, what is going to be the best thing for that person to do magically? And it's not usually what a person thinks that it is. You know, like the person that wants a reading because they want their man to come back. And I'm like, no, baby, you don't want this one back. But you're going to have to do some work on you, to love you, to make better choices so that the next time somebody comes along that you want to have a relationship with, you won't sell or quiet or dim a part of yourself in order for you to have that person in your life. And people don't want to hear that. So you all have to understand that I live a life of telling people things that they don't want to hear. And often when I am doing a reading, Spirit is like, that's for you too, boo-boo. You know, we as spiritualists, as priestess, as guides, we have a certain responsibility to the people that we shepherd. You know, I put up an interesting post the other day that the sheep live their life fearing the wolf when it's the shepherd who kills them or eats them. We get aligned sometimes to the wrong spiritual people and the wrong leaders in our lives, and they can destroy you. When you initiate with someone, they have an ability to take you under. And all work is not always justified. I was talking to my mambo the other day, and she's like, innocent people die from voodoo and from anything, but from voodoo every day because of just the way the world works. And being a spiritualist doesn't make it easier when somebody dies. It helps you to understand that they'll be there, that there's ways to access them, and that provides a bit of comfort, but that does not eliminate grief. And I think that people have a lot of really wrong ideas about this. So I'm going to urge you right now, if you're interested in taking classes or becoming a worker, if you are truly cut out and meant for this, I think that it's important for you to do so, okay? Because you don't want to be like Jonah. You don't want to be in the belly of the whale. I've spent my life running from what I perceived to be the paranormal, which was actually really normal. Worried about what people would think about me if I told them the stories that my family told me, or if I told them the things that I saw or the things that I knew was going to happen. Y'all know I get on here now. Sometimes I go into detail, sometimes I don't. But when I'm feeling some kind of way, I'm like, y'all, something wicked this way comes. It ain't good. Because I believe that we're supposed to help people, maybe not so much change the outcome, because sometimes you can and sometimes you can't. But to kind of, as my mambo told me tonight, buck up. Get ready. Because sometimes some shit's going to come down the line and you're going to have to tell somebody something that you don't want to tell them. You're going to have to do something that you don't want to do. You may even have to sanction your own godchildren for a misbehavior and violation of the rules of your tradition. And human beings are some really fucked individuals. So this stuff happens more often than you would like to think. But I'm really cautioning you people who are playing with everything. I find that people are playing with life. Let's skip the spiritual stuff, but you come to me for a reading, you don't practice magic, but you kind of want to know what's going on. But then, I'm going to caution you. Ignorance is bliss. There are people walking around right now, Becky walking around on Rodeo Drive trying to get her best shop on, and that's really all she's concerned about, And people wonder, how can that person be happy? Because when you have the ability to look in somebody's eyes and see the depths of their life, their story, their soul, that shit's emotionally racking. It's draining. It's often very painful. When you get somebody is cursed and there's really not much you can do for them. People will choose one or two ways to go about this life. A lot of people will bust on this scene and be like, I am the end all be all. I can, divine for you and, give you spiritual prescriptions and do spell work for you because I'm the all powerful Alibaba and shit. And really rack up a bunch of disgruntled clients. And then you'll have people, and I like to be in this camp, where I'm like that with my kids. They ask me something and I really don't know if I should be telling them yes or telling them no. I'll say, we'll see. Then usually I go divine on it and then come back. Or I divine on it right in front of them. Because I understand this connection to spirit. But you all, this is not easy. This is not easy work. Those of us who are really about it were called, we didn't have a choice. If I had a choice, and I talked about this the other day, I would probably, if I had a choice, and I was to be involved in the occult in any way, and it was my decision to make, it most likely would be something like I am making altar boxes and something like that for people. It definitely would not be sitting with people, talking with people, touching people, literally touching them and feeling their pain, transmitting their stories. That type of stuff is painful. And if you've already had a life that has been painful and you've been through some shit and you're triggered while you're reading for people, that's not easy. This, aside from just the dumb ass customer questions, you talk about somebody, D is on here, who is not cut out for this profession at all. It is me. This has required an extreme amount of spiritual growth. This has required me to dig in and find patience in places that I didn't think that I could. But another thing that it has done for me, it has taught me how to let go. Often, most of the people who I have done readings for are holding on to things that have happened to them that weren't their fault. And even if it was, they cannot change. You cannot have a future holding on to the past. So one of the things it has done for me as a diviner is it has caused me to let go of some of the trauma that I experienced in my life, to walk away from it after thoroughly evaluating it, making sure I understood the lesson that it was to teach, and making sure that I don't repeat that, because see, that's no longer a mistake. And most of my trauma, not all of it, but a good deal of it I caused. So you gotta find the answers here, y'all. When you go through a trial and a tribulation, it's for a reason. Whether we like, when people say that, people hate that saying, everything happens for a reason, but it does. The way this world works, your life was predestined from the moment before you were born. Oftentimes, we are incarnations of spirits and ancestors coming back, usually because there is some type of karmatic debt. That whole idea of karma is not what goes around comes around. It's how you live your next life is based on the life you lived previously. That's why you got a lot of earthbound spirits. You got a lot of hauntings. When people sit up and tell me some shit about they going to a mental hospital, a closed, abandoned mental hospital, ghost hunting, I've heard stories where some folks don't come back. And when they do come back, they ain't right in the head. We spend our lives as human beings, because we are inquisitive individuals, sometimes asking for trouble instead of asking for mercy, asking for grace, asking for wisdom. Because it's too much like right. to do what you're supposed to do when you're supposed to do it. And that's the human condition. I fight it every day. There are just so many things I'd rather be doing than feeling somebody else's pain or working. We were joking about winning the lotto today at work. I'm like, I hope y'all know I ain't coming back. You know, it's like, there ain't nobody, but they ain't gonna have no team if we win. But that's human. That's human. And so when you become a spiritual worker, you have to take on all of these things that you may or may not be equipped to do or give. And if you are to be a successful spiritual worker, you're going to have to ramp up really quickly. And that's why I tell people, you know, hey, everybody who falls in love with voodoo and ATRs and magic, they just want to be on the scene immediately. And it's because you're passionate and because you found something that is life-affirming and life-giving. But this ain't for everybody. Some people only get initiated to save their lives. So you got to understand that this is not easy. And if most of us, the really legitimate workers, had a choice, this is not something we would have chosen for ourselves. Some of the things that I think about that I need to work on as a human being, of course, is patience, because y'all know I ain't got none. You know, boundaries, being, you know, even too trusting, even when you're a psychic, you know, divine. I can't tell you how many people I've taken into my home and I've regretted it because I promised the spirits that as long as I had a roof over my head, if I could help somebody keep one over theirs, that I would, until I realized that how I was supposed to fulfill this promise. And I realize now that this promise is best fulfilled with my own children, my grandchildren in my home. That's who the house was bought for. We often do things for people that we love, but you have to understand it's just like loaning money. If you can't afford to be without it, don't do it. Find a different way to help. But especially with money, don't count on somebody paying you back, because chances are they're not gonna. You know, they wouldn't be borrowing money from you in the first place if they actually had some control over their finances. I'm going to turn this light on over here because this one here is getting on my nerves. There we go. That's better. You know, we learn things the hard way. My makeup. I don't even wear makeup most of the time. I guess I got to get it washed from my face. But it was just these two very heavy conversations I had. I mean, I know there's a lot of people out here who are new to practicing or have received psychic messages. One lady on here in particular, I'm not going to call her out by name, but I told her, I said, honey, you're a witch. I met her at a work function. I said, you're a witch. You're not going to be able to successfully push that down without it having an effect on you after a while. So I had literally maybe two choices: either do this or do this to the best of my ability, serve my spirits, my ancestors, and my people, or go crazy. One or the other. You know, you can't keep walking past dead people trying to talk to you and not having it having an effect on you. I've literally met people on the street that I know were not living people, you know, that just showed up because they wanted to tell me something or they needed to be told something. And, you know, and you tell people things like this and they treat you like you have lost your mind. So you got to understand that this is not what Hollywood makes it out to be. And so a lot of times I have to like level set. I had a customer call me today, distressed because I could not give her a reading this month and she actually had the money. And I'm working this week in Chicago. No. because that's the need for self-care. What I found was I was pouring my cup out, as I have done all my life, over and over and over and over again, for people who I've loved with all my heart. And those people, most of them, due to their own issues and limitations, have chosen to walk away. And I have to let them go gracefully. I don't have to talk about what they did on the internet. But they are not in the same place, and that's okay. You have to be that way with people, because if you are serious about this journey, and magic is as complicated as you make it, think real carefully. You can do things spiritually. Just I'm counseling a friend about this. They asked me about essential oils and things like this today, and I'm like, yeah, I can talk to you about all those things, because they're spiritual, they're medicinal. It's the way you live your life, and you can bring those things in, and you can take some of the artificial chemicals that they made, that they derived from some of this stuff, out, and just get down back to nature, and that alone will change your life. But a lot of people get real fascinated real quick. I knew this one guy, and I don't even talk to him on Facebook anymore, and he has a really bad reputation for all the time switching up, trying to be this conjurer that he's not, just all kinds of ridiculousness. We're to the point where he has gotten a reputation in both the black and white spiritual communities of don't fuck with him, okay? Because he wanted to go straight from conjure to goetic demons. It's like, you think that you're going to be the magical, powerful Wizard of Oz. But if you pay very, very close attention, magic's going to teach you how very little power you actually have. And I'm going to explain this, okay? Because there are some people out here who believe that this gift and these things out here comes from them. And you know what? Hey, if you like it, I love it. But for me, my power comes from the creator, from the goddess, from the gods, from the Loa, from the Orisha, from even pantheons of other names, Greek, Roman, Egyptian, things older than time, energies older, because that is science, nature, and energy. And I am a speck of dust. In the universe, I am a literal speck of dust who has been privileged to receive messages, who has been open to receiving those messages, and then asking them, okay, what do I do? What do I do for this? And they say, here, we got these herbs here. We even got these books here that'll tell you, look, this is the fire herb, this is the water herb, this is the air herb. Here, we need a little fire here, so won't you do that? That's the way I work. Not that I am the almighty, powerful. You remember the Wizard of Oz, just a little bitty person in a cage with a real bad inferiority complex, okay, and a Napoleon complex. And so that's what we're starting to get with a lot of these instant practitioners. I took a lot of flack when I started because people said, oh, she just got new on the scene. She acts like she knows everything. And I literally had a former friend take 2 different biographies that were written about me, that I broke both of them to try to say that I was lying. And neither one of them were lies. They were just stories told differently for a different audience. And then the one where it seems to be that it speaks a bit more in detail about my upbringing and who my grandmother was, because my grandmother wasn't a worker per se. She didn't have people coming to the house. She wasn't paying. She was paying for readings. She went to a reader, but that didn't mean that my grandmother wasn't a necromancer. And so when the second biography was written, my mentors were like, why are you trying to dim your light? Tell the truth. And so, I had people that were critiquing me to that level, especially ones that were supposed to be my friends. And You know, it's like, man, ain't nobody trying to pretend this. Ain't nobody trying to joke around and do this. And like I said, I sat up one day, and it's up, like they say, a blessing and a curse. I sat up here one day and I said, man, what if I just stayed in church? You know, I could have a nice straight perm or wig or something and be church's first lady and, you know, be able to do charitable things, and, you know, my life would just be simple. And then I thought about that shit and I was just like, oh, no. Y'all know that was not for me. We all desire what is more simple. We all desire things that are less complex. This world offers a lot of complexity. But what I'm going to tell you is that when you are called, and some of you will be called, some of you on here I know have been called, you have a couple of options. I suggest the option that you choose would be to consider the calling with the utmost seriousness, and to approach it as you would any other study, and to approach it with the hesitance and the restraint of someone who wants to be a surgeon, but they just in their first year of med school. You know you have the talent. You know eventually you'll have the ability, but you do have to get through a certain amount of learning in order to manifest that ability. I remember when I first started reading for people, not being able to shield myself from their trauma. I mean, I would get physically sick after reading for certain people. You know, I had to tell a girlfriend of mine that she had to take care of herself or she was going to be very, very ill again. My friend has fought cancer 5 times. I knew that night that it was coming back, but I found a way to frame it so she could buck up and be ready. And she's still going strong, in remission again. But that night, I had mixed a number of powders and dust. That's one of the things I'll tell y'all. And at Graveyard Dirt's working for my mentors that I don't sell graveyard dirt for that reason. Because I don't want to be working with the spiritual remains of people that I don't know. And then making goofer dust. When I used to help them package things, I would go from the best to the worst, ending with goofer dust. And we were getting ready for something, and I had done all of that packaging that night, and then went home and had to give, I think, 2 readings with some really devastating news. And I got physically sick, and I had to cleanse myself. And that was that time I realized, oh, you're going to have to do something a little bit better than this. And that's one of the reasons why I initiated, you know. But you don't become a superhero by being initiated. You don't become a saint by being a spiritual practitioner. You're still the same person you've always been, and that's another thing. If you have self-esteem issues, if you are in the midst of going through it yourself, counseling others when you're at your worst is not a good idea. Now let's give this caveat here. Broken people can help heal other people, but you have to be from that position where you have been broken, but unlike Humpty Dumpty, you put yourself back together again, or the spirits did it, or your therapist did it, or somebody helped you do it. You know, you might have, you ever see, oh, this is a great analogy. You remember in Brady Bunch when they broke that fucking vase? And the one way they could tell that that vase was broken because there was just that little chip out of it. And the water got through the vase and it started leaking at the dinner table. You don't want to be leaking at the dinner table. You don't want to be leaking at the reading table. However, there's nothing wrong with people seeing the cracks that have been put back together to make you whole. People who have not been through anything are at a very big disadvantage. I'm not saying that they can't be good readers, diviners, and workers, but people who have not suffered some type of trauma in their life really are not really well suited to help others with theirs. You don't have the empathy. You don't have the understanding, which is why we have a need for so many black therapists, because if you're not in the culture, there are things that it's going to take you too long for you to understand, and you'll put too many people at risk trying to counsel them. Yeah, but we're still, Crystal said we're still human beings. We're still living and growing. She's a social worker. That does not make her superhuman. That does not make her not go home and cry when she has a situation that is just so devastating that it's beyond our control. But you cannot be broken in fucking pieces, people, trying to put other people back together. It's like an amputee, a double amputee trying to perform brain surgery. So you got to have tools, and you got to be in a good place most of the time. You got to be able to pull someone up, or helping them will pull you under. So it's important that you take breaks, which I'm doing right now, because there's just too much going on in my life. And I'm tired. Look at my damn eyes. I just figured out a real genius way to simplify my presentation for tomorrow, because I'm extra. I get up with the PowerPoints and the blah, blah, blah. And look, there's ways to convey information where you don't have to sap your entire life to give it, okay? But you can still provide solid things. There are people who want to make magical things, but they don't want to own a store. And I've told people like that, hey, send me samples of your stuff. I just bought samples of, I can never pronounce her name, so I'm not even going to try, but it's the Punani Proverbs. And I bought some samples of her book because I want to sell them, people just want to create. And that is also a really, really good means of depression. But if you seriously out here looking at me or any of these people that you consider to be really big time conjure workers, because in the reality of the matter, most of the world doesn't even know who the fuck I am, and I'm kind of glad for it. But you can't come in here. It's just like when I was a photographer. I went and got my first camera, and I was scared to take the motherfucker out the box. I sat there and I looked at that camera for a week because I was taking a class. And at first I wasn't even going to buy the DSLR. And my brother told me, well, that's like going to a class and not buying the book. So understand that there are going to be certain financial sacrifices you're going to have to make as a spiritualist in order to learn, in order to accumulate your home apothecary and a number of other things. And no, you can't substitute rosemary for any goddamn thing. And yeah, you should learn how to smudge with something other than sage. People smudge with sage because you can go to Whole Foods and buy the stick. That's not what this is about. And I guess my love of learning is one of the things that propelled me to keep studying, keep doing, keep trying, keep creating. But it was also therapy. For me, it helped with my anxiety and depression. To be able to make something with my own hands and to give something to somebody that helped them. That's not me. That's the roots. That's the roots. That's their faith. That's their ancestors. I'm simply providing a way and a doorway for them to do it. That doesn't make me superhuman. That doesn't even make me an honorable human being. And that's another thing. We got a lot of dishonorable people out here. A lot of people that'll sell you a jug of piss for $200 and tell you to take a bath in it. I can't tell you how many clients I've had where they have given their worker their personal concerns, and the worker has not done the work. And they're out of hundreds of dollars, and they can't even do so much as write a rip-off report because that unscrupulous motherfucker will work with unscrupulous spirits and wreak havoc on somebody's life. And if y'all don't think that this is true, Think about all of the mundane things that people do to each other, that they do to innocent people who should not have been. Look at Laquan. Look at my cousin. Look at even Sandra Bland. You know, all she did was speak her mind. And look at what they did to her. She was dead when they took those pictures of her. So y'all got to understand that you cannot trust just anybody with anything. How many of y'all, by the show of hands or a yes or no, were married to somebody for a number of years, 5 or more years, and you woke up one day and you were in bed with a complete and total stranger? How many of y'all? You woke up next to that person and you were like, who the fuck are you? What happened to the person that I married? Where is the person that I loved? You don't even have to be married to him, but somebody who you gave your all to, and that person picked you up, chewed you up, spit you out, threw you outside like you were a piece of trash. Exactly. So why would you entrust your personal concerns to a worker you hardly know? Think about that. And why would you trust a lot of things to workers that you don't know? And that's one of the reasons why I don't do a lot of spell work for people. Not only that they be over in the background undoing the shit anyway. You know, there are a lot of people who are too gullible. That's why psychics cannot get regular credit card processing, because of all of the back charges, because either the psychic was wrong, illegitimate, or 9 times out of 10, the clients are just dumb as fuck. You know, even when you're legitimate and you're doing right by them, like that woman that did that PayPal case against me because she couldn't read. So this is not easy. I love it. I ain't even gonna fucking lie. Magic has opened literal international doors for me. It has given me people all over the world that I love, that I care about, introduced me to new cool shit, empowered me in ways that I never thought possible. Because when you talk about some self-esteem problems, baby, high yellow with a lazy eye and duck lips. Nowadays, they want everything but the lazy eye. Some people, anyways, people plumping up their lips with shit, plastic surgery to get some of the shit, putting syrup in their hair so it will lock. I mean, think about that. All the people that I grew up around, mostly white or with white expectations of beauty, made me feel bad about what I looked like and who I was. I was 40 years old before I realized I was stunning. And I'm not even gonna lie, I think I'm cute. Yeah, I do. And you should. You should love yourself. But we got too many people out here that, number one, don't. And they're workers and they are clients. And they're godchildren. They are co-workers. There are bosses. There are people out here that seriously don't love themselves. And you cannot trust them to do you any earthly good, much less spiritual good. So really, thank you, ladies. Thank you. And it was women who actually made me feel that way, not men. You know, because there was always some unrealistic expectation of what I was supposed to look like. I stood looking at myself in the mirror the other day. I was like, God damn. But I was like, you know what? I'm still cute. I'm just fat. Ain't nothing wrong with that. Just shows that I like food. There are some people who are very thin, who are in very, very, very much worse health than I am. But you guys, you have to understand, and you need to share this with people, that this ain't no game. And the spiritual workers out here who have been in the cut, in the gap, doing this work for a number of years, it's hard on them. A lot of them die early. People want to speculate about why somebody dies when they do, or even take credit for killing someone when 9 times out of 10 it was their destiny. And also sometimes you literally like self-combust. So, I think that, I'm going to get off of here, and, I guess I can still order something because I'm in Chicago and shit might still be open. If not, I'll eat this leftover wrap from this afternoon and pray I don't get botulism, and take a look at some stuff here for work and go to bed. But I just had to let you know that, it's, yeah, when you're good at something, you make it look easy. But that doesn't mean that it is. That doesn't mean that I love you too. It's one of my old friends on here. It's really good to see some of you guys on here who have watched me over the years, and from points of which I came, from being damn near agnostic atheist after leaving the church into something that requires so much from you. And unlike a lot of other maybe religions where you bragging about your contributions or what you're doing and all that other good shit. Oh, baby, look, I will be there. And is it next week? God, Jesus Christ. I ain't ready. I got to go to Baltimore next week. But yeah, people will kill themselves. And I was like, man, when I got sick, I got fucking pneumonia. I was just like, wait a minute, that's because I sat up for 3 weeks at my desk trying to say it was a cold. Trying to keep on keeping on. Because people need me. Bills got to be paid. But if I ain't here, what the fuck are those people going to do? So you have to understand that sometimes we have to take a break, and that the workers, honest to God, if you sat down and you talked to workers that were really serious about what they did, they never really wanted this for themselves. They never even saw themselves ever doing this. And, sometimes I'll be sitting in a situation pinching myself like, am I here for real? Like when I was in the shovel, I'm like, is my almost 50-year-old ass in here for real? Ain't never slept on a floor in my life? Am I on this mat? Am I really doing this? But then it showed me, yeah, you doing this, bitch, and you doing it all right. You're going to be all right. I can't tell y'all how many times I asked to go home. Okay? Because I just really didn't think that I had it in me. And so what that gave me was, when you come back to the matrix, you're like, oh, shit, I did that. Let me go do this. And let me go do this well. And let me figure out the best way to do it. But you got some additional spiritual assistance. But I just want y'all to know that there's a lot of people out here really working hard. And I have a lot of guilt, too. I think about a lot of the justice work and a lot of the stuff that I'm like, man, maybe if I had done this spell, because I'm honest to God, during the Kavanaugh confirmation, well, first of all, my spirit was like, man, that shit's gonna happen, leave it alone. It's gonna happen. But I often think, man, if I had just done that work, or we just all had collectively done this work. And we really do need to start thinking about that on a collective. Things we really want to happen for our own empowerment, both mundanely and magically. Just think about if we all put some money in and bought property and built a spiritual resort. Why can't we do that? Why can't, 50,000 people come up with $2,000? That's $100,000 to put down on a property. Isn't it? My master's degree is in English. But do you see what I'm saying? Why can't we find that? Why can't we find 50,000 people to put down $2,000? I mean, that's your ghetto tax return. That's your hood rat rich for a minute. But people aren't willing to do it. People don't trust people. People don't want to work together. And see, that's the magic. People don't understand that this is a combination of, yeah, and I've talked to different people, but it's like nobody's hit me up. I want to get in, I wanna be in a commune, collective, and hope that they don't burn us out or set us on fire or do whatever they do to annihilate us as they usually do. But, we can't be all things to all people. We got to remember to take care of ourselves and our families and our jobs and our homes. But at the same time, spirit comes first. You gotta, when you make this commitment, and I try to stress this on everybody who I recruit for our voodoo house, because my mambo does not play. Spirit comes before your own children. Nikki, inbox me, please. I'm interested in that, And, having a village, we can create. And that was one of the most inspirational messages that I received. I read on my friend E.M. Walker's page after Trump was elected president. We are responsible for our communities. We can make our heavens on earth. We can be the change we want to be. Aside from principalities and powers and all those things that exist in this man-made configuration, what are you doing in your home? What are you doing in your home? In your spirit, in your mind, in your body, so you could be a better person and therefore make this world a better place to live for other people. And so if you don't have those things in mind, don't take up spiritual work. Because like I told you, either you're going to end up scamming people or you're going to end up going crazy. There's usually no middle ground for that. All right, you all, I'm going to go look at an email I just got for work and wrap this on up. Go try to maybe find me some takeout. If not, I got some popcorn and go to bed. I miss my babies. Even though they work my damn nerves. And I'll talk to y'all soon, but I think that a lot of people need to be level set, especially people. I understand that there are people out here who look up to me. I get that. I understand that. And there are things that I do because of that I have to not act on my own human base level to come up to the level which I'm supposed to be. But every day I fail at something. Every day I fall at something. And you got to understand that. You also got to give yourselves a break. Love, peace, Afro Greece. I'll see y'all soon.